Hello, my little yokais. How are you guys? Dun, 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 dun. What's up, Bigfoot? How's it going? Hey, Dan. Nice of you to join. What's up, Dee Dee? What's up, Wing Chun? Wing Chun boys. Petrie, how's it going? What's up, Katie? Let's catch me today, making me sing. Oh, yeah, you can try, but I'm very smart. I have a big vocabulary in this head, so I know all the definitions of all the words. What's up, Losh? How's it going? Oh shit! Give me 2 minutes, okay? I'll be right back. Okay, that wasn't 2 minutes. That was like 30 seconds. Do, 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 do. What is up, Shibe boy? Hey, Laura, how's it going? I did forget my snack. All right. You know what I want to do today? Just in the beginning, I have some news, some history news. God forbid we do some. We talk about history on this stream. Do 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 do. All right. How do I do this? So I found out some interesting news about Japanese history. Let's do. Okay, how do I do this? So it says DNA analysis rewrites ancient history of Japan. That's a little over the top, but it's pretty interesting. So let's do some background, okay? Do it this way. Give me a second. Wait, nope. Oh, this. Open up Paint. Oh, yeah. So, this is a country called Japan, right? And the people of Japan are all descended from. We think the current understanding is that they all descended from two main migrations back in the day, right? Way back in the day. Shoot, hold on. Can I write on this? Hold on. Size. Okay. So the first migration, we had the Jomon, right? And they came from, I think there are two theories. Either came from here, up here, down, from Sakhalin, or from here, from like Eastern China, I believe, right? So that's like, this is a long time ago, probably around 14,000 BC or something. right? So that was the first wave of migration. And then there was a second wave of migration from the Korean Peninsula, right? And that would be the Yayoi. Yayoi. Not Yaoi. That's a different wave of migration. That's a different type of people. The Yayoi, and they came from here, right? And that was around like what 300 BC. It's around 300 BCE, and this was around like 14,000. Now these are kind of rough numbers because like for these numbers, like all the numbers for Japan, this is a really long time ago, right? So it's like they're very rough, right? And it's not like here, it's not like in 300 BC, this gigantic group of people just they all moved to Japan, right? But migrations don't happen like that. It's not like an entire group of people moved over to Japan. They moved over, they trickled over, right? So I think they found evidence of Yayoi settlements as far back as like 8,000 BC or something, right? So they kind of trickled over. So these are the two migrations traditionally that we've known about. But apparently there's a third migration, and scientists have talked about this before, but then they actually found evidence, right? So this news article says that it traces the island's modern population. They trace their ancestry to 3 distinct groups, not 2 as previously proposed. So apparently they found some DNA from 12 people who lived in Japan during different time periods. So they found a third migration, right, in the Kofun period. So that would be after the Yayoi. So I think that was like 300 AD. Hold on. Yeah, from 300 AD. Where's my thing here? So it looks like there's a third one. Third migration. Ugh. Third migration that also came over after this, right? And yeah, in the Kofun period. So this is the period where they had those gigantic Kofun mounds, like burial mounds. That was also a period where Japan did a lot of, like, I think they invaded the Korean Peninsula. They had a lot of activity there. So it could have been people that migrated over from that time while they're like doing stuff in the Korean Peninsula. So I thought that was pretty cool. Let's see, anything else in this article? Yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, so that was like some new findings. We finally found some DNA evidence of that third migration, right? Yeah. The thing we got to understand about these migrations is that it's not like in 300 BC, like the Jomon just all disappeared and then the Yayoi came over and they just took over the entire island, right? These are all they all overlap. So in 300 BCE, there were still Jomon people living in Japan. It's just that the Yayoi came over, and over time they just spread across Japan and like intermixed with the Jomon people, and then just slowly they took over. So apparently now there's a third migration, which is pretty cool. Where are my layers? Hey, this is paint, okay? This is not Photoshop. This is paint. No such things as layers here, okay? We're rebels. We don't use layers. You forget how far north Japan stretches? Yeah, it is pretty far north, right? It's in Russia territory. Yeah, Japanese history was pretty recent. So in 300 BCE, I believe that was when that was when China's Three Kingdom period was happening, right? So around when the Yayoi came over. So this was like ancient Japan, right? So totally ancient Japan. People were just they just brought over wet rice cultivation. Yeah. So it was pretty primitive back then, but that was the time of the China's Three Kingdom period. Well, let's double check. Yeah, so Three Kingdoms was 220 to 280. So China was already pretty advanced by then. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Anyways, if you want to read that article, I'll just put it in the chat. Anyways. All right. We got some snacks today. There you go. This is like some chocolate with some stuff inside. I don't know. I don't even know what's inside. But we shall see. Oh god. Individually wrapped. I hate individually wrapped. Why do you have to make me open wrappers twice? Okay. Okay. What does this look like? What is inside? Guess, chat. What is inside? It doesn't look like marshmallows. Oh my god. Some kind of cookie. Some kind of crackers inside. Oh, it's pretty good. It tastes a bit like Snickers without the caramel. It's like Oreo cookies inside. It's like Snickers without the caramel, but with cookies. Oreo cookies. It's pretty good. Super sweet though. I don't like it that sweet. But it's pretty good. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. Seal of approval. Is that nougat? No, it's not nougat. How do you pronounce that? Nougat? 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 Nougat. Dictionary. I never knew how to pronounce that. Nougat.
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 Nougat. Let's see what the British say.
Nougat. Nougat.
Wait. So here's the American pronunciation.
Nougat. Nougat.
Here's a British.
Nougat. Nougat.
Nougat?
Nougat. Nougat.
No one will understand what
Nougat.
you're saying. Nougat?
Nougat.
That's weird. The British are very weird. You think in English the pronunciation makes no sense? No, no, no. In British English, the pronunciation makes no sense.
Nougat.
If I didn't tell you what that was, would you know that
Nougat.
I was talking about nougats?
Nougat.
Anyways. Okay. Let's get started. Let's get started. All right. So, what happened last week? So last week, our hero, Duan Yu, he sets off back home to try and convince his father to go save Zhongling, right? This girl that he randomly ran into, and now he has to save her. So he sets off back home to try to convince his father. On the way, someone sends him a servant to give him this horse named Black Rose, and it's a super fast horse. So he doesn't know who the owner is yet, but he gets on this horse. He rides off. On the way, he gets attacked, right? And these attackers must have thought that he was the owner of the horse. That's what he figured. So Duan Yu, being a really good guy, he rides back to find the owner to warn them that someone was after them. All right. Now he goes back to the owner's home, and he finds a group of old ladies who have captured this woman, this girl in black, right? So this girl is all in black with a black veil over her face, covering her nose and mouth, so you can only see her eyes. She seems like, she's the owner of the horse. She seems like an unpleasant person, but he tries to save her anyways. Turns out she's super strong, and then she fights her way out. They escape, but then she ties him up as they ride, right? She ties him up. Duan Yu doesn't like being tied up. All right, he's not that kind of guy. He tries to escape, but she tortures him by making him run along behind the horse, sometimes even dragging him behind her, which is not cool. But finally, after a while, they get into an argument. She finally lets him go. Then he goes to this restaurant, still trying to find his way home. He sees that couple from No Measure Mountain. Remember the couple from before, the ones that he ran from and fell down the Jade Cliff at the beginning of the story. And that's where we stopped. That was fast. How about that? Well, thank you so much, Casey. Thanks for the super chat. You just finished Smiling Proud Wanderer. Did you like that? Did you like it? That was a good story. All right. Let's see. Let's do this. Oh yeah, there's a Twitch streamer in the chat. Her name is Caitlin. Hey Caitlin, how's it going? She put a comment in one of my videos. So I want to shout her out. I don't know what she streams though. I think she plays games. So if you want to check her out, go check her out. Did I get a haircut? I did. Do you like it? It's the same haircut I've always gotten. Alright. Chapter, what are we at? Chapter 3, part 2. Let's do it. Gan Guanghao laughed and replied, "Newlyweds can never get enough of anything, including food." That Sister Ge laughed and replied in a light voice. So this Gan Guanghao is the guy in the couple, and then the Sister Ge is the girl. Remember, this couple he ran away from, right in the very beginning. And that's how he fell into the Jade Cliff. Sister Ge laughed and replied in a light voice, "Pah, you are so bad. If we were old, then we would be full all the time." Her voice was filled with tenderness. The two of them walked in the restaurant and sat down. Gan Guanghao shouted at the top of his lungs, "Waiter, bring some wine and rice, and then cook us a dish of beef, eh?" Duan Yu heard footsteps approaching from behind, followed by a huge hand slapping him on the shoulder and turning him around. Suddenly, he was staring straight at Gan Guanghao's face and vice versa. Forcing a smile, Duan Yu said, "Brother Gan, Sister Gan, congratulations. Wish you two would live for 100 years and grow old together, bringing the East and West factions of No Measure Sword together as one." Remember, one of them is from the West faction, and one of them is from the East faction, right? Gan Guanghao busted out laughing as he turned around and shot a glance at Sister Ge. Duan Yu followed his eyesight and saw that Sister Ge had an egg-shaped face with a couple of blemishes on her left cheek. She was somewhat attractive, but the expression on her face was one of murder. As she lowered her voice and instructed, "Get to the bottom of this. Find out how he got here, and are there anybody from No Measure Sword around here?" The smile on Gan Guanghao's face immediately disappeared as he viciously demanded, "Did you hear what I said? What my dear? Did you hear what my dear said to you?" "Well," Guan Yu calculated, "if I just make up some stuff, maybe I'll scare the bejesus out of them, and they'll run away without killing me." So he said, "There were 4 elder disciples from your sect hurriedly walking by just a bit earlier with swords in hand. They were heading east, as if they were chasing someone or something." Gan Guanghao was shocked as he turned around to Sister Ge. "Let's go." That Sister Ge stood up and made a chopping motion with her right hand. Gan Guanghao nodded, pulled out his sword, and swung it down towards the middle of Duan Yu's head. This move was so quick that even though Duan Yu, knowing that things weren't looking up, the moment he saw Sister Ge's gesture, ducked as soon as he saw the gesture. He still could not get out of the way. Just as it looked as if the blade was touching his skin, there suddenly came a light sound of something flying through the air as Gan Guanghao fell backwards, dropping the sword onto the ground. Another sound followed quickly, and Sister Ge, who was halfway out of the door when she heard Gan Guanghao's groan, did not even have a chance to turn before collapsing onto the ground. These are very long sentences. I get lost like halfway through. The two of them twitched around for a bit on the ground before becoming motionless. There was a small black arrow stuck in Gan Guanghao's throat, and that Sister Ge was hit on the back of her head. As for those two light sounds, they were precisely the sound of the projectiles that the girl in black used last night had made. Oh, is our girl in black back? In shock and surprise, Duan Yu turned around, but there was nobody behind him. Then he heard a slight noise, a slight horse neigh outside, and saw that girl slowly approaching on the black rose. Looks like she just saved his life, right? He was about to get hit by the sword. And then she threw a projectile and saved him. Duan Yu shouted before shooting out of the door. "Thank you so much for saving me!" The girl did not even look at him, as she and her horse kept on trotting along. Duan Yu added, "If you hadn't shot out those two arrows, this head of mine would have been disconnected from my neck a long time ago." The girl still did not respond. The owner of that little restaurant came running out, shouting, "Mister, someone has been killed." Duan Yu suddenly realized, "Aiyo, I haven't paid." He was just about to reach for the silver when he noticed that Black Rose was already several meters away. So he shouted, "There are some money on the dead people. They were paying everyone because they just married. Just take some." He turned around and went chasing after the girl. So I think they died, right? The arrow got the guy's throat and the girl on the back of her head. Yeah, so I think that couple died. Having the horse walking slowly, the girl soon was out of the town. Duan Yu, trying to keep up, spoke up. "Miss, why don't you be a good person all the way to the end? You know, send Buddha all the way to the west. Why don't you go save Miss Zhong with me?" The girl replied coldly, "Zhongling is my friend. I was going to go save her anyway. But what I hate the most is people begging me. You are begging me to go save her, so I won't." Duan Yu immediately tried to retract what he said. "Oh, all right, I won't beg Miss Tu." The girl replied, "But you already begged me." "But what I just said didn't count." The girl rebuked. A real man can't go back on his words." Duan Yu thought to himself, "Before, I always called myself a real man in front of her. Seems like she didn't like that. Oh well, to save Miss Zhong, I guess I can't be a real man anymore." So he said, "I'm not a real man. I'm a small, pitiful bug who was saved by Miss." The girl let out a peal of laughter and sized him up for a bit before saying, "Well, you are quite nice towards that little devil. Last night you were willing to give up your life to be a real man, but now you were willing to be a little bug. I'm not going." Panicking, Duan Yu asked, "What's that for?" The girl replied, "My master told me that all men in this world are evil, and all they do is lie, and not one of them have good intentions in their hearts, so I shouldn't listen or trust a single sentence from a man." Duan Yu replied, "That's not always true. Like," he couldn't come up with an example on the spot, so he just said, "Like Mrs. Father. Now he must have been a great man." The girl rebuked, "My master told me that my father was not a good man." Duan Yu suddenly noticed that she had just urged Black Rose to walk faster, so much so that he was having a difficult time keeping up. So he shouted, "Miss, please wait up." Suddenly there was a flash of shadows and 4 figures jumped out from the woods on the side of the road, blocking the way. Black Rose immediately stopped and took 2 steps back. All 4 of them were young girls. Their clothing were all jade green, and both of them had a hook-like sword in each hand. The one in the middle demanded, "You two are Gan Guanghao and Gu Guangpei of No Measure Sword, right?" Oh, they thought they're the couple. He should beg her not to save her? True. Duan Yu replied, No, not at all. Gan Guanghao and Mrs. Ge already. The girl cut him off. Already? Already what? A pair of male and female, young, traveling together. You two are obviously running away or eloping. How could you not be those two traitors from No Measure Sword? With a laugh, Duan Yu replied, Miss, that seems to be stretching it a bit, don't you think? Gu Guanpei has some blemishes on her face, but Miss here is pretty like the flower and the moon. Big, big difference. The girl turned to the girl in black and demanded, Take off your mask. The girl in black suddenly shot out 4 arrows. Zhang, zhang! 2 of the girls in green knocked the 2 of the arrows down with the hook-like saber they had in hand, while the other 2 girls were hit and down onto the ground. These 4 arrows came out of nowhere without the slightest of warning and were flying at an amazing speed, yet 2 of them still were knocked out of the air. The girl in black immediately hopped off the horse. With her sword already pulled out by the time she landed, she stepped forward with her right foot as soon as her left foot landed and made 2 moves, attacking the 2 girls who were still standing. The 2 girls also jumped forth and began attacking, one of them fighting the girl in black, while the other turned her saber toward Duan Yu. Ayyo! Duan Yu screamed before scrambling underneath Black Rose's belly. Not expecting that he would pull such an unorthodox move, the girl was taken aback for a split second. Just as she recovered and was getting ready to stab Duan Yu, a pain suddenly shot up her back, and she collapsed immediately. Turned out that the girl in black caught her with another arrow in that little opening. But because of this little bit of distraction caused by shooting out another arrow, the girl in black was also hit by the hook-like saber on her left shoulder. With a loud tearing sound, the hook at the end of the saber hooked onto her sleeve and tore off half of it, revealing a snow-white shoulder. There was a half-meter-long cut on her shoulder, which immediately began gushing blood. The girl in black tried to counter with her sword, but the girl in green's kung fu was superb, and the twin hooked sabers in her hand were dancing as her moves were fast and clever. Soon the girl in black's left leg was hit as well, tearing open her trouser leg. The girl in black countered by launching 2 more arrows, both of which were knocked down by the hooked sabers. The girl in green demanded several times, Who are you? Your sword techniques aren't those of No Measure Swords. Who are you? The girl in black did not reply as her moves sped up. Suddenly, she let out a little yelp as her sword was caught in between hooks of the twin-hooked sabers. The girl in green turned her wrist. The girl in black could not keep her grip on the sword as she had to let go and immediately jump back in defense. The girl in green quickly followed with several thrusts of her hooked sabers, all of which were dodged by the girl in black. What era is this supposed to be in? This is the Song Dynasty era. Duan Yu had started to panic a long time ago, but he couldn't do anything except look on. But now, seeing that the girl in black was in grave danger, all coherent thought went out of his head as he grabbed a corpse that was lying on the ground. Grabbing the stomach of the body with both hands, he turned it into a huge battering ram and charged toward the girl in green. Startled, the girl in green suddenly noticed that the thing that was coming at her was her sister's head. As a wave of bitter sadness washed over her while he threw the head. As a wave of bitter sadness washed over her, she swung at Duan Yu's face with the hooked sabers in her right hand. But with an entire corpse in between them, the move came up about 1/4 of a meter short. Bang! The head of the corpse hit her squarely in the chest. It was also at that precise moment when a small arrow shot into her right eye, causing her to collapse onto the ground. Out of the corner of his eye, Duan Yu saw that the girl was half kneeling on her left knee. So he shouted, "Miss, are you all right?" He ran over and tried to help her up. The girl slowly stood up and was immediately startled, because in a panic, Guan Yu had forgotten to put down the corpse. So here he was running at the girl with the head of a corpse aimed straight at her chest. The girl gave the corpse a push on its head, and with a shout, Guan Yu fell backwards, the corpse neatly landing on top of him. Seeing the peculiar position that Duan Yu was in, the girl could not help but let out a bit of a laugh. Then she began to worry, knowing that she was in grave danger just a moment ago. If she had not killed two of them, using surprise right off, and gotten Duan Yu's help, she probably couldn't even defeat one of the girls. Oh, I forgot. Did I make the text bigger? Where did these 4 girls come from? How come their kung fu was so good? She turned to Duan Yu. Hey, dummy, what are you doing with the corpse? Duan Yu got back up and put down the corpse. Terrible, just terrible. So sorry. You took us for someone else. All you had to do was ask us politely, and all of this would have been cleared up. But you had to talk all that nonsense, causing Miss here to get mad. Miss, actually, you didn't really need to kill. Wouldn't it have been better if you just took off your mask and let them see? The girl angrily rebuked. Shut up. I don't need to listen to you. Who told them to call us whatever? Duan Yu replied, Yes, of course. They were definitely wrong to suggest that what they suggested. But miss, you didn't have to kill them. You better wrap your wounds up a bit. He just caught a glimpse of her snow-white thighs because her pants were ripped, not daring to look at it anymore. He immediately turned his head the other way. Getting tired of hearing him telling her she should not have been killed. Getting tired of hearing him telling her she should not have killed, the girl was just about to slap him again when he suddenly mentioned her wounds. Immediately, she began to feel the pain from her wounds on her arm and leg. Luckily, the wounds were not deep and were not to the bone. So she immediately applied some blood clotter and bandaged her wounds up, using cloth she tore from the corpse's clothing. Duan Yu, meanwhile, moved all the bodies into a pile of hay and said, I should dig a grave for you, but I don't have a hoe or a shovel. Missus were so young, although all of you aren't that pretty, but you weren't ugly either. Hearing him talk about their looks, the girl was reminded of something. Hey, how do you know that I don't have blemishes on my face and is pretty like a flower or the moon or whatever? Duan Yu smiled. Of course, that goes without saying. The girl replied, What do you mean, of course? Duan Yu replied, Of course means that it could only be like that. Whatever. You couldn't even dream of what I look like. My face is covered with spots and blemishes. Maybe not. The girl suddenly realized that it could be a problem that her sleeve and pants were ripped, so she took a robe off of one of the bodies and put it on. Aiyo! Duan Yu shouted as he suddenly remembered the huge holes he had on the back of his pants. How could he be traveling with a girl with a bare butt? He immediately began walking backwards, making sure he didn't turn his butt towards the girl in black. He also took a robe off of a body and put it on. The girl let out a peal of laughter. Duan Yu blushed so much that even the base of his ear was red, thinking about the hole that was on his pants and what that meant. The girl reminds you of Ying Ying? Maybe. A little bit, yeah. The girl pulled out her arrows from the bodies and placed them back inside her shirt, and then added a couple of kicks onto the body of that girl that injured her. Duan Yu suggested, Miss, your arrows seal up the victim's throats as soon as the poison enters the blood. Such powerful and devious poison. I urge Miss not to use it ever again, unless you have no other choice. To kill is against the way of heaven. The girl cut him off. If you talk any more nonsense, I'll give you a taste of this poison. With a flick of her right arm and a sound of arrow piercing the air, a poison arrow flew barely past Duan Yu and stuck into the ground. His face white as a sheet, Duan Yu dared not say a thing. The girl continued. Let's see if you can still talk nonsense after the poison sealed up your throat. She reached for another arrow and flicked her arm again. Guan Yu was scared out of his wits and ducked. With a little laugh, the girl put the arrow back into her... I believe that should be ducked, not docked. With a little laugh, the girl put the arrow back into her shirt and gave him a mean-looking stare. You look like a girl with this robe on. Put the hood up. That way, if we run into anyone else, they wouldn't say we are we are a man and a woman. Guan Yu nodded and took the bandana off his head, placed it inside his shirt, put up the hood, and pulled it down over most of his face. The girl let out a hearty laugh at the sight. Hearing her sweet and innocent laugh, Guan Yu mused. From her actions and expressions, you would figure that she's younger than me. Then why is she so cruel and murderous? He looked up and saw that on the front of her robe was sewn a black vulture. The vulture had its head held up high, looking very proud and powerful. The exact same vulture was on his robe as well. He shook his head and sighed. Girls actually having this on their robes rather than flowers or butterflies. Aye, such demeanors. The girl shot a look at him. Are you mocking me? Guan Yu immediately replied, No, not at all. I wouldn't dare. The girl probed further. So what's your answer? No, or wouldn't dare? Guan Yu replied, I wouldn't dare. The girl nodded and did not ask any further. Guan Yu turned around and asked her, Are you hurt bad? Do you want to rest a bit? The girl angrily replied, Of course it hurts. Let me take a couple of swipes on you, and you can see for yourself. Guan Yu thought to himself, Well, the epitome of bitchness. The girl continued, Are you really worried that my wounds are hurting? There isn't a man in the world that's this nice. You just want me to go save Zhongling as quickly as possible. Just that you can't say it out loud. Let's go. She walked to Black Rose's side and hopped on. Pointing northwest, she asked, Sword Lake Palace of No Measure Mountain is in that direction, right? Guan Yu replied, I guess, seems like it. The two of them started to slowly walk in that direction. After a while, the girl suddenly asked, Whose birth date was that inside of the golden box? Guan Yu thought, So you have opened it up already? I don't know, he replied. It's Zhongling's, the girl said. Isn't it? Guan Yu answered. I really don't know. The girl angrily demanded, You are still lying. Madame Zhong has already matched Zhongling to you, hasn't she? Tell me the truth. Guan Yu, in a panic, replied, No, she really hasn't. If I, Guan Yu, am lying, then I will die by your arrows this instant. So, your name is Guan Yu? Guan Yu replied, Yeah, Yu as in Mingyu, famed name. The girl snorted. Is your fame any good? I don't think so. Guan Yu replied with a laugh. Well, the Mingyu Tinghuai name is terrible. Is this one also? I don't know what that means. The girl replied, That's more like it. Guan Yu naturally asked, So what is Mrs.'s surname? The girl rebuked, Why should I tell you? You told me your name on your own. I didn't ask you. After another long stretch of silent walking, the girl spoke up again. Later on, after we saved Zhongling, that little devil will surely tell me my name. You are not allowed to hear it. Trying hard not to burst out laughing, Guan Yu replied, All right, I won't hear it. The girl seemed to have felt that this matter was a bit hard to accomplish, so she added, Even if you did hear it, you are not allowed to remember it. Guan Yu offered, All right, even if I do happen to remember, I would try my hardest to forget it. The girl rebuked, Peh, you are lying. Think I can't tell? Through all this talking, the sky slowly turned dark, and soon the moon rose from the east. The two of them hurried along the path under the moonlight. Around 10, Guan Yu suddenly saw a bonfire in the mountainside facing them. At the base of the peak, just north of the bonfire, was several large buildings. Recognizing that that's the Sword Lake Palace, Guan Yu pointed at the bonfire and said, Divine Farmer Clan is right over there. Let's sneak up on them, grab Zhongling, and run. How about that? Okay, so they already reached the Divine Farmer clan. Coldly, the girl asked, "And how exactly do we run away?" Duan Yu replied, "You and Zhongling would ride on Black Rose. There's no way that Divine Farmer clan can catch up to you." The girl asked, "Then what about you?" "I was forced to take the intestine fragmenter by the Divine Farmer clan. Xu Kong Xuan told me that after 7 days, the poison would break out and I would die. So I have to somehow get the cure first before I can run away." The girl observed, "So you were poisoned by them. Then you should be in a hurry to get the cure. Why did you come back to deliver me a message?" Guan Yu replied, "I figured that with Black Rose's speed, reporting that message wouldn't take much time at all." The girl was puzzled. "Are you really that nice, or are you just an idiot?" "Yeah, the latter." Guan Yu laughed. "Most likely half and half." The girl humphed at that remark and asked, "So how are you going to get the cure?" Guan Yu thought out loud. The original agreement was the cure of Lightning's poison for the cure for the intestine fragmenter. They are not going to get the cure to Lightning's poison, so it would be very difficult to trick them into giving me the cure for the intestine fragmenter. "Miss, do you have any ideas?" The girl rebuked. "Only men know how to trick people. I don't know how. I'm going to just ask them straightforward to hand over Zhongling and cure or else." A wave of coldness shot through Duan Yu's heart, knowing that she's probably going to start killing big time again. He thought, "It's best if, but exactly what was the best outcome? But exactly what was the best outcome? He had no idea at all. The two of them began walking towards the fire. When they got to about 20 meters away from it, two men suddenly jumped out of the darkness with a bag of drugs in hand, ready to throw. One of them demanded, "Who is it? What are you doing here?" The girl demanded in return, "Where's Xu Kong Xuan? Tell him to come here." In the moonlight, the two men noticed that the girl and Duan Yu were both wearing a green robe with a black vulture on their chest. The two of them were shocked and immediately kneeled down. Yes, of course. We did not know that holy emissaries from the Nimble Vulture Palace would be arriving, so sorry for getting in your way. Please, forgive us." His voice was shaking as if he was scared to death. Duan Yu was immensely puzzled. What emissary from Nimble Vulture Peak? Then he suddenly understood. Oh, that's right. They are thinking we are somebody else because we have this green robe on. Remember, they put on the clothes of the people that they just killed. Those 4 people that they killed. Then he remembered that several days ago, back in the Sword Lake Palace, Zhongling said that she overheard Xu Kong Xuan talking with his underlings, saying something about following orders from Kid Elder of Heaven Mountain of Nimble Vulture Palace to come and take over Sword Lake Palace of No Measure Mountain. So it turns out that the Divine Farmer clan is a subsidiary of Nimble Vulture Palace. No wonder these two men are so scared. Of course, the girl did not understand what's going on, so she asked, "What's Nim?" Afraid that she might expose the two of them, Duan Yu raised the pitch of his voice and said, "Get Xu Kong Xuan here now." The two men replied, Yes, right away." They immediately stood up and took a couple of steps backwards before finally turning around and starting to run towards the fire. Duan Yu whispered to the girl, "Nimble Vulture Palace are their superiors." He put up the face mask of the hood and covered the bottom half of his face, leaving only his eyes visible. The girl was about to ask something else, but was cut off because Xu Kong Xuan had arrived and said out loud, What was Xu Kong Xuan's voice again? I forgot. Something low? Something evil? Your humble servant, Shikang Swan, welcomes the holy emissaries. Please forgive us for not welcoming you earlier. How is the kid elder? May she live for 10,000 years. Duan Yu was thinking to himself, who's the kid elder? She isn't the king or the mother of the king, so wishing her to live 10,000 years just doesn't seem right, does it? So he just nodded and replied, Get up. Shikang Swan kowtowed twice more before standing back up. By this time, there was a huge crowd of people behind him, all of them in the Divine Farmer clan. Duan Yu spoke up. Where's that girl from the Zhong family? Bring her here. Two clan members didn't even wait for their master to issue the orders before dashing towards the fire and carrying Zhong Ling over. Duan Yu ordered, Untie her. Shikang Swan answered, Yes, miss. He pulled out a dagger and cut loose the rope around Zhong Ling's hands and legs. Seeing her still doing very well and unharmed, Duan Yu could barely contain himself, as he had to force himself to maintain the high pitch of his voice when he said, Zhong Ling, come here. Zhong Ling replied, Who are you? Shikang Swan shouted at her, How dare you be so rude in front of the holy emissaries? She told you to go over there. Zhong Ling figured, Who cares who the hell you are? You told him to untie me, and this old goat beard is so scared of you, so there shouldn't be much harm in doing what you told me. So she walked over to Duan Yu. Duan Yu reached out with her left hand, took her hand into his, and pulled her over to his side. He squeezed her hand and made a gesture to her, but figuring that she probably wouldn't understand, he turned to Shikang Swan. Hand over the cure for intestine fragmentor. Shikang Swan wasn't quite sure what was going on, but he still ordered, Bring my medicine box. Hurry, hurry. With a little pause, he immediately understood. Aiyo, that bastard named Duan must have gone and begged these emissaries. That's why they are asking for the cure. When the medicine box arrived, he opened it up and took out a small bottle. Holding it up respectfully, he said, This medicine needs to be taken for 3 days straight, once each day, and about a gram or so each time. Happy beyond words, Duan Yu took it. Oh, that was easy. He just got the medicine right away. Zhong Ling suddenly spoke up. Hey, Goatbeard, got any of the medicine left? Remember that you promised Big Brother Duan to cure him. If you give all you got to them, what would happen if my Big Brother Duan comes with my dad? The girl in black couldn't stand this any longer and commanded, Zhong Ling, be quiet. Your Big Brother Duan will be just fine. Finding her voice very familiar, Zhong Ling turned towards her. When Zhong Ling laid her eyes on her mask, she immediately recognized her and uttered, Ah, moo. But she realized soon enough that something was going on and put her hand over her mouth in time. Shikang Swan was quite worried as well as he kneeled. Shikang Swan was quite worried as well as he kneeled and said, Holy emissaries, your servant had been bitten by this little girl's poisonous marten. Please show some mercy. Duan Yu figured that if he did not somehow cure him, then they would have a fight to the death on their hands. So he turned to the girl in black and said, Sister, why don't you give him some of Kid Elder's cure-all elixir? Hearing that there was a cure-all elixir here, Shikang Swan could not believe his ears as he kowtowed loudly several times, all the while saying, Your humble servant will be forever grateful for the mercy and benevolence of the Kid Elder and the holy emissaries. There are a total of 19 of us that has been bitten. The girl thought, what is he talking about? Cure-all elixir? But since I'm wounded on my leg and arm, it would be quite troublesome to protect 2 people now, so I guess I'll just go along with this Duan guy and play this goat beard for a bit. So she reached into her shirt and took out a small bottle. Put your hand out. Su Kang Swan obeyed and lowered his head as well, not daring to look at the emissary directly. The girl poured a little bit of some green powder in his hand and instructed. Take some orally and everything should be all right then. All the while she was thinking, this fragrance powder of mine didn't come easily. Can't let you get too much of that. So she just gave him fake medicine. As soon as she opened the bottle, Su Kang Swan could smell a delicious and refreshing fragrance. He had spent his entire life around medicine and herbs, yet he could not make out what the powder was made of. By the time the powder was poured onto his hand, the smell had made him feel all warm and fuzzy all over. Figuring that the kid elder must be amazing as this powder was, as expected, almost magical in its effects, he thanked them repeatedly. But with the powder in his hand, he could not kowtow. Seeing that everything had been accomplished without a hitch, Duan Yu said, Sister, let's go. Lost in the moment, he actually forgot to mask his... Oh shit. Duan Yu said, Sister, let's go. Lost in the moment, he actually forgot to mask his voice. But luckily, Su Kang Swan and his underlings did not notice. Su Kang Swan reported, Holy emissaries, Zhuo Zi Mo of No Measure Mountain actually dared to refuse our threats. Because of your servants' wound and loss of arm, this matter was not resolved quickly, and I am ashamed. I will order my men to attack right now, and we will take over Sword Lake Palace. I humbly request that the holy emissaries to stay and observe the battle. Duan Yu replied, No need. I think there really isn't any need to attack this Sword Lake Palace anymore either. Why don't you guys go home? Oh no. He's taking this a little bit too far. He should just run away right now. But he can't leave well enough alone. Su Kang Swan was shocked because he knew the kid elder's temperament very well. The nicer the emissaries she sent are, the worse the punishment, as the emissary would almost always talk sarcastically, opposite of what they meant. Figuring that the emissary must be criticizing him for failing to accomplish his mission, he panicked. I realize my fault. I realize my mistake. Please, forgive me. Could the holy emissary please say a couple of good things on my behalf to the kid elder? I beg of you. Afraid to say anything more, Duan Yu just waved his hand somewhat and, dragging Zhongling with him, began to walk away. Su Kang Swan kept on his knees and spoke loudly. The Divine Farmer Clan is honored to send the holy emissaries on their way. May the kid elder live forever. The clan members behind him repeated all together. The Divine Farmer Clan is honored to send the holy emissaries on their way. May the kid elder live forever. Already several meters away, Duan Yu thought the sight of all these men on their knees together were quite humorous, and shouted back, May Mr. Su Kang Swan live forever as well. To Su Kang Swan, that sentence was filled with sarcasm, and he almost fainted from the shock. The two men behind him noticed that their leader was shaking, and immediately jumped up to support him, fearing that he might drop some of the cure-all elixir in his hands. Yeah, I know. I can't believe that worked. Duan Yu and the two girls walked for several dozen meters until they couldn't hear the Divine Farmer Clan anymore. Zhongling whistled repeatedly, trying to get her Martin back, but to no avail. So she turned to the girl in black. Sister Mu, thank you, and this other sister so much, but I have to stay here. The girl asked, What for? Waiting for that poisonous Martin of yours? Zhongling replied, No, I'm waiting for my big brother Duan. He went to get my father here to cure those poison guys in the Divine Farmer Clan. Turning to Duan Yu, she said, Sister, can you give me some of the cure for intestine fragmenter? The girl interrupted, That Duan guy won't be coming around here again. In a panic, Zhongling replied, No way, that can't be. He said he would. Even if my father won't come, big brother Duan would still come back. The girl retorted, Men only know how to lie, so you shouldn't believe anything he said. Zhongling began to sniff a little. Big brother Duan would never lie to me. Duan Yu couldn't control himself any longer, and with a laugh took off his mask. Miss Zhong, your big brother Duan really didn't lie to you. Zhongling stared at him, rendered utterly speechless for a long time, before finally becoming overwhelmed with joy, and jumped onto him with her arms around his neck while screaming, You didn't lie to me. I knew you wouldn't. The girl suddenly grabbed her by the back of her collar, pulled her aside, and coldly commented, Don't do that. Zhongling was quite surprised by that, but being as happy as she was, she didn't care. So she asked, Sister Mu, how did you two meet? The girl just humped and didn't respond. Big brother girl, you have no idea? True. Oh yeah, remember, Duan Yu and Zhongling are half siblings. We can't forget that. The girl suddenly grabbed her by the back of her collar, pulled her aside, and coldly commented, Wait, we already said that. Worried about Su Kong Swan come chasing up after finding out how ineffective the powder was, Duan Yu spoke up. Why don't we get going? We can talk about it on the way. The girl in black climbed onto her horse and was out in front, while Duan Yu briefly told Zhongling what had happened, judiciously leaving out the part about how the girl tortured him and only saying that she saved his life. After listening to the whole story, Zhongling yelled out to the girl, Sister Mu, thank you so much for saving big brother Duan. I don't know if I can ever pay you back for that. A bit peeved, the girl rebuked. I saved him by my own accord. What does it have to do with you? Zhongling stuck out her tongue at Duan Yu and made a face at that remark. The girl continued. Hey, Duan Yu, I know that little devil Zhongling is going to tell you my name, so I'm going to tell you now. My name is Mu Wanqing. Duan Yu replied, firewood is pure and flowery, pity to the purer willows. Such a good name and surname. Mu Wanqing replied, Better than your one piece of wood, terrible fame. Duan Yu burst out laughing at that comment. Zhongling grabbed Duan Yu's left hand and gently said, Big brother Duan, you are so good to me. Duan Yu replied, Only thing is that it's a shame that you can't find your marten. Zhongling whistled a couple more times before replying, No big deal, really. After those bad guys leave, I'll come back here and look for him. Will you come and keep me company? Duan Yu nodded and replied, Of course. Thinking about that jade statue in that cave, he added, From now on, I would come back here from time to time. Furious, Mu Wanqing cut in. I don't permit you to come back. If she wants to look for her marten, then let her come herself. Duan Yu stuck his tongue out at Zhongling and made a face. The two of them looked at each other and smiled. What is her problem, huh? Alright, let's take a 5-minute break. Okay, I'll be right back. And we're back. Alright, so that went surprisingly well. They rescued Zhongling and they got the antidote. And nothing happened. Okay. But it seems that we lost the marten, though. I don't know where it went. The three of them did not talk for a long while and just walked. After several kilometers, Mu Wanqing suddenly asked, Zhongling, is your birthday the 5th of February? She was still facing forward on her horse, not even turning around. Zhongling answered, Yes, it is. Sister Mu, how did you know? Becoming furious, Mu Wanqing shouted, Still claiming that you aren't lying, Duan Yu? With a jerk of the reins, she and Black Rose began to gallop away. Suddenly, there came a low and faint whistle from the northwest that was followed by 4 claps from the northeast corner. A row of silhouettes came flying this way from directly in front of them, and stopped about 50 or so meters away from the three of them. A slight pause followed before a hoarse voice shouted, "Little whore, where do you think you are running off to?" Oh, that's Grandma. Let's try that again. Grandma Ray. And Grandma Ping was the one with the evil voice, right? Well, what did Grandma Ray sound like? "Little whore, where do you think you are running off to?" The voice belonged to none other than Grandma Ray. Before they could respond, someone started to snicker from behind them. Duan Yu whipped his head around in panic and saw the faint figure of Grandma Ping standing there with the daggers in her hands. The daggers in her hands were almost glowing under the moonlight. There was a man to the left and right of her. The man to the left had a face of white beard and a huge shovel in his hand, while the man to her right was a relatively young man that carried a sword. Duan Yu sort of remembered seeing these two men among those who were present in the hall where he first met Mu Wanqing. Mu Wanqing sneered, "You ghosts still haven't appeared yet? Well, quite an accomplishment for you guys, chasing me all the way here." Grandma Ping replied, "We'll chase you to the end of the world if we have to, you little whore." A small sound came from Mu Wanqing as she shot out a small arrow. The swordsman's eyesight and coordination turned out to be excellent as he knocked the arrow down with his sword. Before anyone else could react, Mu Wanqing had launched herself off of her horse and was flying towards the white-bearded old man. For a man as old as him, his reaction was incredibly fast. With a flick of his right hand, he swung the shovel at Mu Wanqing. Still off the ground, Mu Wanqing pushed off the face of the shovel with her left foot and flew back towards Grandma Ping. Grandma Ping held up her dagger to block the strike. Chung! The blade of her dagger had been sliced off by the sword, creating a bright flash in the darkness. Grandma Ray immediately attacked Mu Wanqing's back in hopes of rescuing Grandma Ping. Not in a hurry to kill Grandma Ping just yet, Mu Wanqing rotated her sword sideways, pushed off of Grandma Ping's shoulder with the flat side of the sword, and gently flew off like a feather. Had it not been for Grandma Ray's intervention, she would not have rotated the sword, and Grandma Ping would have been sliced in two. That entire exchange, with all the sudden changes and reverses, took only a couple of seconds. Even though she had just barely escaped death, Grandma Ping was not the least bit scared, as she immediately swung her dagger at Mu Wanqing 3 more times, making Mu Wanqing dodge and lose the initiative. At the same time, Grandma Ray and 2 other men charged up and attacked as well. The sword in Mu Wanqing's hand flashed repeatedly as she weaved her way among those 4 attackers. Standing several meters away was Zhongling, waving at Duan Yu incessantly. "Big brother Duan, come here." Duan Yu asked after he made his way over. "What?" Zhongling suggested. "Let's get out of here." Duan Yu replied, "They are ganging up on Miss Mu. How could we just leave her like that?" Zhongling replied, "Sister Mu's kung fu is really very good. She could just get out of this by herself with no problem at all." Duan Yu shook his head. "She came here to save your life. How could you just leave her like this?" Zhongling stamped her foot and replied, "You idiot! Like you can help her out by staying here. If only lightning is here." At this time, Mu Wanqing was fending off the 4 attackers with all her might. Because Grandma Ray's iron staff and the old man's iron shovel were very noisy because of their length, Mu Wanqing was paying very close attention to all the sounds around her and heard this entire exchange between Zhongling and Duan Yu. Duan Yu continued, "Miss Zhong, why don't you leave first? I can't bear to wrong Miss Mu in any way. In the unlikely event that she's overwhelmed, I could try and talk us out of it." Zhongling replied, "Other than just giving that life of yours away, you really aren't good for anything here. Go! Sister Mu won't be angry at you for it." Duan Yu replied, "If Miss Mu hadn't saved me, I would have died a long time ago. There's really not much difference in dying half a day earlier or later." Frustrated, Zhongling grabbed his arm and started to walk away. "You idiot! I can't win arguing with you like this." Duan Yu shouted, I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave. But he wasn't strong enough and was being dragged away. Mu Wanqing suddenly shouted, Zhongling, you get yourself out of here. Leave him here. Zhongling began to pull him even harder. Shoo! A small arrow suddenly shot into Zhongling's hair and got stuck into one of her hair buns. Mu Wanqing threatened, If you don't let go, the next one is going straight for your eye. Zhongling knew that she was the type that would go through with whatever she says, and although the two of them had been good friends, they still haven't been together long enough to establish any real deep friendship. So she let go, knowing that she was really about to shoot at her eye. Mu Wanqing commanded further, Zhongling, go to your parents' place now. Go! If you wait for your big brother Duan at all, then I'm going to shoot 3 more arrows at you. She parried away several more attacks as she said this. Not daring to disobey her, Zhongling turned to Duan Yu. Big brother Duan, please be careful. She then covered her face, turned, and disappeared into the darkness. After ordering Zhongling away, Mu Wanqing went back to concentrating on fending off the attackers. Feeling a faint pain on her leg where she had been hooked, she suddenly changed her fighting style. This time the sword flashed through the darkness over and over again like a meteor shower, ever-changing and unpredictable. Suddenly the old man screamed in pain, for he had been hit in his chest. Mu Wanqing followed that with 3 more thrusts, forcing Grandma Ray and that swordsman to jump out of the fighting circle. Then, spinning the blade of her sword around, she turned towards Grandma Ping. In the blink of an eye, Grandma Ping had already been hit 3 times. Ignoring the wounds, Grandma Ping continued to attack like a wild tiger. By now, the other 3 attackers had rejoined the fight. Grandma Ping rode to a stop at Mu Wanqing's foot and swung at her calf with the dagger in her right hand. Mu Wanqing gave her a nice kick, sending her rolling off. At this precise moment, Grandma Ray's iron staff came flying in towards her forehead. Mu Wanqing hurriedly brought her sword back, parried the staff away, and moved right into a thrust towards the center of her foes. Grandma Ray turned her body sideways and brought her staff back to protect herself. Mu Wanqing let out a little sigh of relief and was just about to start another attack when a huge amount of pain shot through her. Turned out that the old man, unable to lift his shovel after being injured, pulled out an iron spike, charged in, and was able to stab it into her shoulder. Mu Wanqing smacked him over her shoulders and pretty much flattened his entire face, killing him in an instant. But Grandma Ray had charged forth and began attacking again. Grandma Ping screamed, The little whore is hurt. Don't worry about catching her alive. Just kill her. Seeing that... Excuse me. Seeing that Mu Wanqing was wounded, Duan Yu began to panic. So he, as he did last time, wanted to run over and grab the old man's corpse. But with the 4 fighters in the way, he could not reach the corpse. In desperation, he ripped off the robe he had on and, wildly waving it, charged into the melee and was able to cover up Grandma Ping's head. Shocked that she suddenly lost her sight, she immediately reached with her hand and tried to tear the cloth away. However, in a panic, she had forgotten that she was holding a dagger and was cut face. However, in a panic, she had forgotten that she was holding a dagger and cut her face, causing her to squeal like a pig. Unable to find enough time to pull out the spike that's embedded in her left shoulder, Mu Wanqing, fighting off the pain as much as she could, hurriedly swung at Grandma Ray twice, then turned and thrusted at the swordsman. These 3 moves were incredible, as Grandma Ray's right cheek had been slashed, as was the swordsman's forehead. Although the wounds were harmless, the parts that hit were vital, and so, in shock, both of them jumped back and felt their wounds with their hands to check on it. His fighting style is slinging corpses or stripping. True. But it kind of worked. So but you can't really really say that that he's not good, right? Maybe he's a really good fighter. Mu Wanqing cursed to herself. Damn it! I should have killed them. She took a deep breath and whistled. Black Rose arrived almost instantaneously. She hopped onto the saddle, grabbed Duan Yu by his collar, and lifted him up as well. Black Rose began to gallop west as far as she could. They hadn't even gone 100 meters when there suddenly came a huge amount of shouting behind the woods as several men came charging out, blocking their way. The tall man in the middle yelled, "Little whore, your old man's here, been waiting for you for a long time now." He reached up in an attempt to grab a hold of Black Rose's manes. Mu Wanqing slightly flicked her right hand and 3 arrows shot out, hitting 3 men in the crowd. Taking advantage of the old man's momentary surprise, she pulled on the reins and Black Rose leapt over the heads of the men. The men came chasing after her, but fearing her poisonous arrows, they held their weapons out in front of them and kept getting further and further back. But they were still cursing like crazy. "Whore! She ran away again! No matter where you run off to, we'll still find you and get you! Come on, everyone, after her!" Mu Wanqing let Black Rose run as she pleased through the mountains, and arrived hillock. Seeing that there was a cliff in front of her, she had no choice but to stop to try and find another way. No Measure Mountains' paths twists and weaves their way up and down the mountain. What? No Measure Mountains' paths twist and weave their way up and down the mountain, making it very difficult to navigate through them. Suddenly, there came shouting from ahead. "That horse is coming back around! This way! The little whore is back!" Because of her wound, Mu Wanqing was in no condition to fight, so she immediately stopped Black Rose and began to run into the right. This time she no longer had time to pick a path, and Black Rose was running through the wilderness. Luckily, Black Rose was amazingly strong and agile, and was able to traverse through the rocky hillside with no problem whatsoever. After galloping for a long time, Black Rose suddenly misstepped with her front legs and bumped her right front knee on a rock, causing her to limp and slow down. Hillock definition? Isn't that just a small hill? That can't be the definition, right? Run as she pleased through the mountain and arrived hillock. I think it means arrive at a hillock. Arrive at a hillock. Now that doesn't make sense, because there's a cliff. Hmm. I think it's a small hill. Oof. Ah, I think I'm wrong. Yeah, I'm gonna say a small hill. Ah, ah. Aha! Small hill. Oof. Genius. Genius brain. Huge brain. Continuing on. Worried, Duan Yu suggested, "Miss Mu, let me off. That way you can get away easier and faster with just you riding. They have no enmities or quarrels with me, so it wouldn't be much of a problem if they caught me." Mu Wanqing replied, "What do you know? You are from Dali. They would kill you as soon as they catch you." Duan Yu replied, "That's strange. Are they planning to kill everyone in Dali? Miss, please listen to me and escape by yourself." With her left shoulder just throbbing in pain, Mu Wanqing had no patience to listen to Duan Yu ramble. So she shouted, "Shut up! Don't say another word." Duan Yu replied, "All right, then could you let me sit behind you instead?" "Why? I left my robe over at that fat grandma's head." "So? There's several holes on the back of my pants. Sitting in front of Miss with this bear, it's just too inappropriate." Barely able to bear the pain on her shoulder, Mu Wanqing grabbed his shoulders and, gritting her teeth, squeezed so hard that his bones were cracking and commanded, "Shut up!" Unable to handle the pain, Duan Yu immediately complied. All right, I'll shut up." And we're done with chapter 3. All right. Did you guys like that? So we saved Zhongling. We got the medicine for Duan Yu. So that whole incident went as about as well as we can expect, right? But they got ambushed by this one other group that's been running after Mu Wanqing for a while, it seems. Dude, she's been trying to ditch you for days. Obviously, she won't do it if you tell her to. This is very entertaining. Awesome. Glad you guys like it. Good job trying to catch me with that hillock definition. I wasn't 100% sure. I was like 30% sure that I meant a small hill, but I guess I was right. All right. Ugh. Oh, this bottle is very small. I think, look, we're halfway done already. What? We're almost done. I promise I didn't drink it beforehand. I promise. I don't have a problem. All right. Cheers. You're surprised you stayed awake, Bigfoot? Yeah, me too. You usually fall asleep. The story is getting pretty fun. Yeah, we're only in chapter 3. And it seems like there's a lot of events happening. All right. I think we're done. So I will see you guys next week. Oh, happy Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is coming up. I hope you guys enjoy dinner with your families. All right. I'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. I love you. See you later. Bye.